Hi there, and welcome to the Tyre Recycling Podcast. We're up to episode 26 now, and we've returned to our usual roles with myself presenting today, and Ewan will be asking the questions. Ewan, how are you, and what have you got in store for episode 26?
Absolutely fine today, and in episode 26, we are speaking to Federico Dossena, who has stepped into the lead role at Ecopneus in Italy after the retirement of long-serving Giovanni Corbetta. So we're really just looking for an introduction to Federico to see what his ideas are for the future of Ecopneus.
Fantastic. Well, we'll get straight into that interview. So we have that coming up for you right now with Federico Dossena, the new Managing Director of Ecopneus.
Good morning, Federico Dossena. You have stepped into the chair at Ecopneus. How does it feel to sit in the chair so long occupied by Giovanni Corbetta?
Well, thank you, and good morning, everyone. The feelings are, I would say, two mostly. First, it's a real pleasure and honor to be on the steering wheels, which has been maneuvered by Giovanni since a few months ago, because Giovanni was the inventor of Ecopneus, and he moved from scratch up to the current level of efficiency and reputation that the organization is recognized for. And on the other hand, there is a lot of excitement because I'm coming from the paper and printing industry, so I'm convinced I can bring in some of the best practice in use in the other sector, and we can blend in a more efficient and bringing more results in this relatively young industry. This the vulcanized recovered rubber, which is only 10 years old.
Okay, so it's interesting that you come from the print and publishing industry, because my next question was Ecopneus has a history of being involved in promoting tyre recycling. I understand it's part of the decree that surrounds the tyre recycling in Italy, that you have to promote what you're doing. Currently, Ecopneus has been involved in the Festival of Sport in Trento and in Festambiente and other public promotions. Do you see this level of promotion of rubber recycling continuing in future?
Yes, definitely. The participation to these events you mentioned is only the tip of the iceberg. Behind there is a lot of work, of research and testing, and trying to find the best opportunity, technical solution to prepare such kind of manufacturers and products. Therefore, the participation to Festambiente or the Festival dello Sport in Trento are the opportunity to show to the public what is realistically possible to create with vulcanized recycled rubber. And therefore, yes, we will continue in showing to the public and try to promote the opportunity of getting this material and these products known to a large part of the citizens, particularly keeping in mind that a lot of such applications are really addressed to the benefit of the citizen, of the population. By, for instance, if you think that a basket field made out of recycled rubber gives the same technical performances like a professional basket floor, but it doesn't require a building to protect the field, because the rubber is naturally supporting to stay outside and resisting to the sun or the temperature variation, rather than a more sophisticated flooring coming from professional utilization.
Okay. Another aspect of Ecopneus that is perhaps unique to Italy is its cooperation and education with various authorities like municipalities, police forces, etc. It seems to be an ongoing challenge in dealing with both the grey markets and the criminal opportunists that beset every market. Is this an area where Ecopneus will also continue its work to educate and assist the authorities in tackling waste crime?
Yes, definitely. We since the beginning, Ecopneus has been sitting next to the police forces or the authorities in order to implement the correct way of disposing and recycling end-of-life tires. You have to consider that the regulation, the legislation, the Italian legislation related to the waste topics is pretty complex, very wide, and therefore it's we feel our role to sit close to those who are in charge of making the application of the rules on the field, in order to better understanding what they have to do and how they can evaluate given situations when they are facing some problems, some issues, or they suspect some illegal activities are going on. And therefore, our aim is definitely to stay close to these people and help them in better steering their activities in order to contrast the illegality.
Okay. Moving on from these areas, what do you see as the challenges for the tire recycling sector? For example, is the crumb rubber issue settled, or can we expect the ECHA to come back to the issue again? Or, for example, if the plans to recycle the 50% of tires not already recycled in Europe come to fruition through the likes of Black Cycle, will that, in the longer term, impact on the potential for or the feedstocks for other projects like devulcanization and crumb rubber production?
Yeah, I think that any industry is subject to, let's say, fluctuation or regular re-evaluation from the authorities about the fitting of into the right dimension as far as the recycle and eco-sustainability is concerned. Therefore, the activities of the ECHA can be again focused on the recycled rubber. It's also true that the EU regulation recently published, the 2021/1199, is confirming that, for instance, the polycyclic aromatic material contained into the rubber is well behind the limit this regulation set. Therefore, there are opportunities to see the crumbled rubber still used in the consolidated utilization, like the field turf or the sport floors. Nevertheless, we have definitely to watch into the future and the new possibilities, and watching at the opportunity that the new technologies are offering us today. For instance, pyrolysis, or watching with more solid support to the devulcanization process. And therefore, in the next future, I'm convinced that these chemical recycling will take a larger portion compared to today, and they will side the current mechanical grinded or grinded pieces of rubber.
Okay, now the next one. In most markets, tire-derived fuel is used as a high volume, low cost route to disposal of tire volumes. What place does this have in the Italian market? We have heard complaints from German recyclers about their own tire-derived fuel being displaced or undercut by French and Italian TDF supplies. Is that an issue for Ecopneus to address?
Well, the Italian market is still pretty consistent, so stable, I would say. And what is true is that the Middle East opportunities, for instance, the cement industry based in the eastern part of the Mediterranean area, is now calling for a lot of material. Therefore, there might be a diversion from Italy and from France towards that direction rather than the rest of Europe. It's an opportunity which can be considered, evaluated, and let's see if our next country, our neighbor countries, are again interested in collecting such kind of material for the TDF opportunities.
Okay, now our final question for today is a bit more open. What are your hopes and plans for Ecopneus? Where do you see the agency's role in 5-10 years' time?
Yeah, well, as I said, I'm coming from a different industry, so I'm now exploring the opportunity to exploit some opportunities that the Ecopneus can introduce in the recycled rubber market in order to consolidate, to support the market itself, to bring value on the material. And my vision, my hope is that in 5-10 years from now, we will be able to play a significant role in terms of research and studying the opportunities to utilize recovered rubber in many other applications than today, and therefore having a market which calls for this material, for this product. We can decrease significantly the contribution asked to the citizen, because the market itself is self-sustaining.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. It's given us an introduction to what your ideas and your plans are for Ecopneus in the coming years.
And there you have it, our interview with Federico Dossena, the Managing Director of Ecopneus. Ewan, that was the first time you met Federico. I found it quite interesting that he was coming from the paper industry, so I'm sure there's going to be some skills and knowledges he can bring across to the tire recycling sector. What did you think of that brief discussion?
It was good to see that Federico is looking to continue the work that has been done with Ecopneus in the past. The education, the working with the authorities, and I think most importantly, looking for new markets and developing opportunities for business, particularly in the pyrolysis and devulcanization sector, perhaps moving a little bit away from the crumb rubber side of things, because as we know, and as we touched on in the interview, the ECHA are always going to be reviewing the situation with crumb rubber. and there really needs to be an alternative solution. So Ecopneus looks to be in safe hands, and it's good to see that Italy will remain, I think, at the forefront of managing its Tyre risings.
Absolutely. No, Ecopneus, from a marketing perspective, they've always done a lot to promote their activities. They obviously support our magazine a lot, but besides that, they do lots of promotions as well to highlight the good work they're doing. I'll be interested to see if they continue the progress that we have seen in the rubberized asphalt sector. Because when we spoke to Giovanni Corbetta a few months back now, we had a distinct focus on rubberized asphalt. So I'll be intrigued to see how that develops, because we are, besides Italy, that's quite an interesting sector from my point of view. I'm seeing, like, we recently had a story of a bit of an uptake of rubberized asphalt in the UK. Obviously, we've seen a lot of work or projects with this in Spain and Australia as well.
Yeah, the rubberized asphalt market is one that has been held up by, I think, by politics, by economics, by just a general conservative approach to road construction. Industries don't particularly want to change. Certainly, there's been lobbying against rubberized asphalt from certain sectors, and that has held things up. But now we're starting to see investment in rubberized asphalt. We're starting to see councils specifying it, and around the world, the market is starting to take off. We've seen it in Australia. The ban on the export of whole tires from Australia is imminent, and that is driving the Australian industry to find new markets. And one of those is the bitumen industry. And we've had two stories recently about bitumen plants moving production across to rubberized asphalt in Australia. We've had a large bitumen plant in Hungary been dedicated to rubberized asphalt, and hopefully in the forthcoming podcast we will have some discussions with a representative of Michigan State, the USA, who is looking at markets for rubber in the States, particularly in Michigan. And that interview will focus on rubberized asphalt, I think.
Brilliant. Well, I look forward to that. As I think I've said before on previous podcasts, I think the rubberized asphalt one is particularly interesting because it's, when people moan about what their taxes are spent on, I feel that, like, potholes are normally something that people immediately go to. So I'm sure, using a lot of the volume of tires and tire risings in resurfacing our roads would be a good option for sustainability, but also keeping people happy with how their taxes are spent.
Yeah, indeed. And I mean, locally here in Yorkshire, in Huddersfield, the council have used rubberized pavement to pave well-used footpaths. It's a small project, but it gives a softer footing when you're walking on the path. It drains, and it appears to be weed-free if it's done properly. It's not a high-volume process at the moment, but if it was something that were used more widely, again, it sits beside the rubberized asphalt. It's a new market, and it's one that has the potential capacity to use a great deal of crumb rubber. I was actually talking to a recycler yesterday in the UK who is looking forward to developing this side of the business, building sports surfaces, and rubberised pavements. He sees it as a big market. His problem, and we're moving away from Ecopneus here, his problem is that he can't get enough granulate to meet the demands of the market. So the industry's caught in the horns of a dilemma.
Yeah.
We're busy exporting hundreds of thousands of tons of rubber to India, whilst here at home we've got people who have markets but can't get the feedstock. It's a strange business.
Definitely. But obviously, we're moving ourselves back towards Ecopneus's appearance on the podcast today and our introduction to Federico Dossena. I think it was good to talk to him, and it'd be great to catch up with him in a few months again to see what his first initial achievements have been for Ecopneus and the progress they are continuing to make in this field. But for now, Ewan, thanks again for your time, and interviewing Federico. We'll be back very shortly with episode 27 of the Tyre Recycling Podcast.